This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit, Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
This is Joe Cazana, and you are listening to me right here on Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today. The trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox. Sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with. He is the owner of Joe Cazana Promotions, Joe Cazana.
Hey, how you doing, man? Glad to be here. Glad you wanted this old guy to be on your show. How's it going out there in Los Angeles?
Everything's good over here. How's it in Tennessee right now?
Well, right now we've got storms moving through, so it's raining and it's stormy. It was almost 80 degrees here today, and it's going to be 35 tomorrow. So hey, just typical Tennessee weather, man.
You know, it's kind of weird. We're kind of having the same type of weather in Los Angeles. I mean, it's very windy. We're known for our Santa Ana winds, and it's just been horrible, miserable, cold weather.
That's not like LA, man. It's usually pretty warm out there.
It's not. I usually joke with my friends on the East Coast. You know, it's so cold in Los Angeles right now. I'm wearing socks with my sandals.
I got some friends down in Florida, and if it gets down to 55 degrees, they absolutely go crazy.
I could definitely imagine that. But what do you got coming up at Joe Cazana Promotions?
Well, let's see here. And I know that you're speaking broken English, but it's Cazana.
Cazana. I apologize.
There you go. There you go. That's okay. You're not the first person I've had to correct on that. I've been doing it for years, man. Well, really, what Joe Cazana Promotions has going right now is we've got, of course, our YouTube channel. I've got season 1 out there, all 10 episodes of season 1. We're working on season 2 now. We're getting ready to premiere tomorrow night. I think it's episode 6. I think it is. Maybe episode 5. Well, one or the other will be premiering tomorrow night. Also on the same YouTube channel, I also do a podcast like you do. And I did episode 6. I recorded it last night, and it will premiere on Monday. And it is with the legendary ace of all belts, the man that creates and makes every championship belt out there, Dave Milliken. Ooh. And it's probably the longest podcast I've done because Dave and I have been friends for a long time, and it's different when you get on one of these things and you talk to a buddy. And we talked for a little over an hour last night, and we barely scratched the surface. So we're going to revisit this just as soon as WrestleMania is done and over with. But as far as shows that we've got coming up, March 17th is our actual season premiere event. We're gonna start season 3 in Petros, Tennessee, and usually when we're in Petros or Cofield or Decatur, Tennessee, we'll usually sell the place out. So a sellout in Petros will be somewhere around 500 or 600 fans, and we're gonna start, like I said, season 3 there. We're gonna film 4 episodes of Joe Cazana Promotions, Wide World of Wrestling, and shoot, man, we've got between that and what's going on with my sons, you know, both of them. I've got, of course, you know, AJ Cazana, one half of the United States Tag Team Champions for the National Wrestling Alliance. He's traveling up and down the roads, and now my younger son, Kurt Cazana. he's actually started training about 7 weeks ago to get in this crazy business.
That's awesome.
And Dr. Tom Pritchard is doing the training. So I can't think of a better person than that to do the training. But if you ever get a chance to watch Joe Cazana Promotions, as far as my YouTube shows, you'll see that it is 100% old school territory style wrestling. Tom Pritchard happens to be an agent for us. He also is color commentator with us, and I can't think of a better guy to work with than Doc. But we've got that big show coming up, and it's going to be huge. It's like I said, it's our season premiere, season 3. So it's going to be big. I've got wrestlers coming in from all over the country, including the country gentlemen, the United States Tag Team Champions, Anthony Andrews and AJ Cazana. They'll be there. It's going to be a great show. So if you're listening to this, you're in East Tennessee. Come out to Petros on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Wear something green, or somebody's going to pinch you on the rear end. So, but I'm happy to be here talking to you. I think this is my first time speaking with you, and hey man, let's talk wrestling.
Definitely. At that show, the Shamrock Slam. The first match already announced is Dream Girl Ellie, and you're bringing in Freya the Slayer to compete against her.
Right. Dream Girl Ellie, she's an anomaly. That girl is a spitfire, man, and she is actually she won the women's championship for the second time back in December, and she's the only 2-time champion. And while she was doing that, she defeated the current champion, who is Roxy. In the NWA, Riley Rocket is who she is,
yeah.
But she also defeated Kenzie Page as well in that match. It ended up being a number 1 contenders match, Ellie against Kenzie. Ellie beat her. Kenzie kind of, I guess, goaded Riley into defending the championship that night, and she lost. And Dream Girl Ellie became the first ever 2-time JCP Women's Champion. Freya, I met Freya at the NWA Live Power back on the 31st of January, and that's the first time I'd ever met her. AJ has told me a lot about her as far as her talent and everything, and when I met her, I didn't realize just how imposing of a figure Freya is. I'm 5'10", and she towered over me. And it's like, okay, this gal is like 6 foot tall. She is probably, I guess she would be in line with maybe the size of a Camille. But Freya, this is her debut, and she's looking to knock out Ellie. I mean, that's pretty much as nice as I can put it. She looks like she's looking to knock her. I mean, she told me sitting there in the convention center in Knoxville, she said, and I quote, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but she said, "I'm going to kick her ass." And I said, okay. I said, that's great. So we're going to have a great match, and it's a David versus Goliath kind of thing. So Freya has to beat the champion. The champion doesn't have to beat her. So that's the first match announced. So we're proud of that one.
Definitely. It's definitely an interesting matchup there, and I think the Dream Girl has her work cut out for sure.
She does, but she is the champion. So,
right.
champion always has the advantage no matter what.
So, I did want to talk to you about Wide World of Wrestling.
Okay.
Because, I've interviewed a lot of, promoters, and they do, it does seem like they're, indie promotions.
Sure.
This seems like more of like the good old-fashioned territory days of the NWA. And you have great production. You have
Thank you.
Like you said, you have Dr. Tom Pritchard on commentary.
Sure. Yeah.
I could listen to him all day. So, Was that something intentional where you wanted to be a throwback, or did you just want to have, the tradition of, obviously your grandfather, John Costanza, or how did all of that kind of come about?
Well, I mean, you got to realize that my grandfather started. He started wrestling in 1933, and he came forward with it. Of course, promoted the original, Wide World of Wrestling, and he was a National Wrestling Alliance affiliate. I mean, he was the East Tennessee. He was the territory. That's,
Right.
I mean, he was the territory for the NWA at the time, and it was just like, you had East Tennessee, you had West Tennessee out there with Jarrett and Goulas and that bunch out there, and it was just him doing the Wide World of Wrestling. It kind of died off for quite a few years after Ron Fuller had purchased the territory from my grandfather. And, it was only logical that, I brought it back. There was nobody else that was going to bring it back. I mean, if they want to, they can try, but I actually own the trademark, so they could do what they want. But it was the right fit at the time. The wrestling fans, in my opinion, are starved for the good old days of the territory style type wrestling, and they're starved for talent that you're not going to necessarily see in a parking lot at a Hardee's or drive-in movie. You're going to see these wrestling stars. You're going to see superstars from not only the National Wrestling Alliance, but from the World Wrestling Entertainment, from AEW. It's kind of like you go back and see some of the stuff that we've done, and I started actually promoting around 2009. And, I didn't do many shows back then, but coming forward, starting around 2016 or so, I was doing shows, here in East Tennessee, and I was bringing, folks in like your Jim Cornettes, your Rock and Roll Expresses. Tommy Dreamer's been here. Teddy Long's been in here. It's been a virtual who's who in professional wrestling, and I joke a lot, like I've joked with Ricky, Morton quite a bit, and Jeff Jarrett as well. But I had Ricky and Robert booked in here for one of our spring shows, and lo and behold, Vince calls up and inducts him into the Hall of Fame, and the very next year, I think it was, I had Jeff booked in here, and the same thing happened. And it's got, and we kind of laugh about it a lot when I talk to those guys. And it's just like, if you want to get in the WWE Hall of Fame, give me a call and I'll book you, and then you can cancel and you can go up there and get inducted. But honestly, it just made sense to bring it back. And then we saw we had an opportunity. I guess it was about a year ago. It was in February of last year. We had an opportunity to put something together as far as, let's make this Wide World of Wrestling a reality. Go with the old school territory type wrestling. And we started, producing shows then. And we did our first couple of shows. They were okay. If you watch it back on YouTube, you'll see show 1 and show 2 is completely different than the next 8, because I switched production companies kind of midstream. Went with a company, impeccable reputation. They do a lot of stuff out there. It's a company called Superjaw, and they're a terrific production company. They come in here. They bring, they've got like 3 cameras and a hard cam and the sound setup. They do it the right way. So we had that opportunity, and we just took it and we just moved forward with it. A year later, I think we're doing pretty good. We enjoy a really nice relationship with, the National Wrestling Alliance. And I've helped them on a couple of shows in the area, and I enjoy working with those guys. I think that this year, I think you're going to see the National Wrestling Alliance emerge as a player in the wrestling industry. I really believe that with all my heart. But as far as my promotion goes, like I said, we caught steam last February and we hadn't looked back.
Right, and it did seem like NWA got a lot of steam behind them before the pandemic, and then the pandemic just stopped all that. So it killed everything, every bit of momentum that they had. It was kind of like you think about the champion at the time was Nick Aldis, who is he's a terrific wrestler. He was a terrific champion, and the same thing kind of happened with him that happened to Drew McIntyre up in WWE. The only difference is NWA did not do anything, and Drew performed in front of an empty arena. So, I mean, it was, but you're right. They had a lot of steam, going into that pandemic, and it just was bad coming out. But, right now, the NWA is coming off of 2 back-to-back sellouts, one in Knoxville, one in Tampa. And, I mean, I'm telling you, man, they're catching steam. They're going to Mexico next month. They're going to Chicago in April. They're going to Australia in April. So, I mean, they're catching some steam. So what is the relationship with JCP and NWA currently, and how did that relationship kind of come about? Well,
really and truly, I mean, it's more of a I guess it's more of a friendship kind of thing. They I guess I don't know, maybe in March of last year, they had reached out to me about, hey, what do you think about, Knoxville as doing a show in Knoxville? And we kind of batted it back and forth a little bit. And I'd spoken with a couple of the executives there, Joe Galley, Kyle Davis, and then I'd also spoken to William Patrick Corrigan a couple of times. And the relationship, basically, it's just like I said, it's mostly just a friendship. I mean, I help them when they come to the area, and that's pretty much it. They don't. I mean, it's not like we're not a partnership or anything like that. But like I said, we've just got to. It's one of those that's I help them, and by me helping them, that gives me help as well. Just by saying, okay, it's kind of like the other. When we want to, like Joe was on the air, at the live power, thanking me, thanking Joe Cazana Promotions, and that's a big boost, just saying that on air. But the relationship, like I said, it's a friendship. It's is pretty much all it is. I don't send them talent. They don't send me talent, albeit I do use a lot of NWA talent. Just because, in my opinion, that's the best talent there is out there, and I'll say that to my dying days. But like I said, it's mostly just a friendship. I mean, and that's pretty much all it is. It's just periodically I'll do some on air stuff with them. As far as I'll manage AJ or get involved somewhere like that. But other than that, man, it's just a friendship.
That's interesting. Friendship isn't a word a lot of promoters use with other promoters in pro wrestling.
You're right, man. You're right. But you'll find that Joe Cazana is not your typical type of promoter. I'm a former professional wrestler, and a lot of promoters, were professional wrestlers in their day, but in my day, it was the best time to ever be a pro wrestler. I mean, we're talking the 80s and of course the early 90s. And I saw what it was like to run a successful company. I saw what it was like to run a company that was just a mud show. I saw what I wanted to be, and I saw what I didn't want to be. And I wanted to be a promoter. Well, honestly, let me back up a second. I really didn't want to promote anything. It's too much work. but I wanted to be the same type of promoter my grandfather was. I couldn't tell you how many times that I would go to an NWA show over when I was contracted with Crockett or WCW at the time. Just going and listening to the older guys back then, telling me what kind of a man my grandfather was, how honest he was, how fair he was, how he treated the boys and how he paid the boys, whether he made money or not, he always made sure that the boys were taken care of. And that's exactly the same mentality that I have. I want to take care of the men and women that come in there and they bust their butts and they take chances and risks that, I never would have taken, back in my day. But then again, we didn't do this flip flop and flying like they do now. But I just wanted to be that fair promoter. And, honestly, when I say friendship, that's what I mean. I mean, if any of the guys from the NWA needed me for anything, all they got to do is pick up the phone and call. And I feel like, it's the same, way. I could do the same exact thing. That's the kind of relationship that I have with the NWA is pretty much I could call them for help. They could call me for anything they needed. I mean, it's just that's kind of the way that this business should be. It shouldn't be so cutthroat and so mean and so nasty and everything else. And if you do things the right way, I've always felt like you'll get rewarded in the long run,
That's absolutely awesome. I love that. Obviously, your grandfather, John, was a major part of the wrestling back in the 70s. And you didn't start your wrestling career until after he passed away.
That's correct.
So before he did pass away, was you ever able to pick his brain on pro wrestling?
Not really. My grandfather was that chiseled veteran that you always hear about. He would, my grandfather passed away when I was in high school. So I mean, it was early on. I would mess with him a lot when I was just, I guess, 8, 9, 10 years old, 11 years old. I'd always tag along with him to the matches. We'd go on Friday morning just so he could make sure that the ring was up, everything was there, and I would always get in there and play around and just do crazy stuff in there, and I'd make him mad, and he'd get over it, and he would go get something to eat or something, but. I would go up to my granddad a lot, and I knew it would make him mad, but I knew that he'd never say anything to me. And I don't make a point out of saying this word, but I would always go over there and say, bye-bye. I said, wrestling's fake. And boy, he'd look at me like he just wanted to really just bust my rear end. But he'd look at me, he'd say, baby, he said, it's great entertainment. Even then, he was using the word entertainment and showmanship. So I really didn't think much about it, So, but I never had that opportunity to really pick his brain. He had a stroke, a really bad stroke. I was probably a sophomore in high school when he had that stroke, and I really never had that opportunity. Now, there were a lot of times where some of the guys would come to the house, and like I said, I was a little older. I was in high school, the Ron Wrights of the world and guys like that would come to the house and see my granddad. And, every now and then I could, say something to them. To be honest with you, man, I didn't have a second thought about even being a wrestler. I just wanted to goof off and graduate high school and, drink beer and run around with my friends. That's all I cared about,
That sounds like pro wrestling to me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was learning at a young age, but I just didn't know it. No, I had no desire at all. And, and there's a documentary out there that they had done on my family. And I said the same thing in the documentary, that I had no desire whatsoever to be a pro wrestler. I didn't want to do this. I could have cared less about professional wrestling, up until the receiving of friends at the funeral home. And, I told the story that, the guys were filing through, and it was just, honestly, just in that whole thing, again, forgive my French, but it was assholes and elbows, at the funeral home. There were so many people there, but of course, one person that stands 6 foot, 9 inches tall. It was Ron Fuller. And we just got to talking, and he said, have you ever thought about, refereeing? No, I never gave it a second thought, and, he had said that, he would talk to the local trainer about, possibly, training me to be a pro wrestler, because up until that point, for about a year or so going into that, I'd actually been on his ring crew, and I was, putting ring together and things like that. But like I said, I never thought about wrestling. And then he had told me that, I think it was the next week or 2 weeks later, something like that, they were going to have a Tennessee heavyweight, title tournament, and that they would like for my grandmother to present the championship, which she did, and which was really, really cool. But he talked to the local trainer. His name was Rick Connors, and he beat the ever-loving stuffing out of me for, what was it, 4 months. And there were 20 people in the class that started, and when we finished, there was 2 of us left. So I mean, it's always been in my blood, but I just never had that desire to do it. I just didn't want to do it. But hey, here we are 40 years later.
Now, John bought the company from his brother, I believe, George.
Correct.
What was your relationship with George? And
well, I mean, with my Uncle George, it was I was really a super kid. When he passed away, I might have been in junior high school. I may have been 11, 12 years old. I don't remember a lot about my Uncle George. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I just don't. I do remember him coming. They were at the house all the time. I mean, it was, if you've ever seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
yes.
Yeah, that was my life. I mean, okay. I kid you not, that was my life for years and years and years. I mean, it was literally a party at my grandparents' house every weekend. It was everybody going up there, my grandfather grilling, and just like the movie, my grandfather grilling and just ouzo and the baklava and the spanakopita and honestly, everything that you see in that movie was my life. But I do remember, my Uncle George, coming there to the parties and things like that. But like I said, I really don't have a lot of memories of him.
Okay, fair enough. Let's do a little word association with some of the wrestlers that work for your promotion.
Okay.
I'll give your name and you give me just your thoughts on them.
Say that again?
I'll give you a name and you just give me a word or a sentence that comes to mind for them.
Okay.
Matt Sigmund.
My old Matt Sigmund?
Yep.
Terrific wrestler. Good guy. Good all around guy. Big old hammerhead, but he's a good dude.
Elliot Russell.
Elliot Russell, he's a he's a funny guy. Great worker. he's he's a little bit more of the comedy, than Siggy is. But Elliot's a great worker, good dude too. Billy Tipton, Tennessee Sunshine. That I try. Great guy, nice guy, hard-headed, but he's a nice guy. I'd been telling him for months and months and months he needs to dump the 9-to-5 dude and just become a bad guy. Finally, we did that. But Billy's he's a nice kid. He's a good worker. He's a technician out there. Like I said, good wrestler.
He's going to come out to Jolene now.
Yeah, sure. No, not on my shows he won't.
Riley Rocket or Roxy.
Roxy. What could I say about Riley? God, Riley is a really, really sweet, person. Roxy's a jerk, but no, honestly, Riley, she's a sponge. She wants to learn. She is she's a quick learner. She's I can't say enough about her because, like I said, she's coming into her own. She's working her rear end off. I'm really, really proud of her. I mean, I can't, like I said, I can't say enough about what she's done.
Dream Girl Ellie.
Dream Girl Ellie. She is an enigma. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a really good way. She is that quintessential person that can turn it on and turn it off, become a good guy, a bad guy. She's a good worker, and you believe she's believable. For her size, she is believable.
Blanco Loco.
Flip, flop, and fly. Blanco is a technician. He is a perfectionist. He wants everything to be just right. You don't want to upset his apple cart. But pound for pound, he's not just a really, really good wrestler. He could also be a really good luchador as well.
Axton Ray.
Good old Axton. Bless his heart. Axton is God. He is that anomaly type of wrestler. He is that guy that's got size, that can do stuff that you can't write it in a book. The guy can take a run and jump straight to the top rope, cut a backflip, do a loop-de-loop, and he's good at what he does. Axton's he is a really, really super wrestler, and he will make it somewhere someday real soon.
Does he need to change his song though?
Say that again?
Does he need to change his song though?
I don't know. You think so?
I don't know. I mean, you wasn't like a 9 to 5, so I wasn't.
Oh, that's Billy Tipton. Now Axton uses "Carry On Now Wayward Son" by Kansas, which isn't so bad.
Okay.
But 9 to 5, no, dude, no. We're doing away with that. I mean, Dolly may be Tennessee's favorite daughter, but we're doing away with her music on my shows.
Okay. And lastly, Paulie.
Oh, golly bum. What can I say about Paul? Paul and I have known each other for the better part of the last 35 years. We tagged together in the WCW. At that time, he was a little scrawny thing. He was a little scrawny wrestler who, he wasn't as big around as a Dad Blame action figure. But Paul has stood the test of time. He is an excellent wrestler. Still to this day, he does stuff that just amazes me at his age. He don't let the whole Ric Flair persona fool you. He is his own man. Paul is, but I mean, there's not a whole lot I could say about Paul other than he's a good friend. He's always been my friend, and like I said, it's Paul. Paul is Paul. He's a great worker. He does good stuff in the ring still to this day. He runs a successful, wrestling organization himself down in Georgia. Like I said, man, I can't, put into words, about Paul and my relationship. It's just been, it's a 35-year run, man.
You woo him, don't boo him.
Yeah, woo him, don't boo him. Don't pull a gun on him or anything like that. It's, he's. I've got the, I've got the shirt that, don't, you can boo me, don't woo me, woo me, don't boo me, whatever it says. I mean, I was, he inducted me into his Hall of Fame last year. Matter of fact, I went in with Tom Pritchard. And yeah, it was fun. But Paul is my buddy. He's my friend, and he's probably one of the longest friends I've had in the wrestling business.
All right. Can you tell us about the WBIR Channel 10 documentary?
Sure. What do you want to know about it? Everything?
Yeah.
We started doing this documentary about I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks before Always Ready.
Okay.
Back in Knoxville and back at last June, and it was honestly I don't know how it really came about. I just got a phone call, from a fellow by the name of William Willett, and it just steamrolled from there, and we did. I mean, like I said, the first one was 45 minutes. I probably did 2.5 hours myself, just telling stories or whatever it was we were doing. But it's a very, very right on documentary about the Cazana family and the way wrestling was in Knoxville, especially when my grandfather was running it. And I mean, Bo James is in it, and I've known Bo for well over 30 years as well. And, he hit the nail right on the head back then. You're talking early 70s when Knoxville proper had about 50,000 people in it. And my granddad was getting 10% of the population at Chilhowie Park every Friday night. I mean, it's unheard of. It's incredible. Nobody could do it to this day. I promise you, WWE could not do a weekly wrestling show in Knoxville or this whole entire area. They just couldn't do it. But the documentary was it was fun. It was fun looking back and seeing some of the old stuff, and then coming forward and and just listening to some of the I guess dignitaries that spoke. I mean, you had Ricky Morton spoke, and I. He and I go back a long way as well. We've been friends for over 30 years. So, I mean, I made a living off wrestling Ricky and Robert. William Patrick Corgan had some really nice words to say in the documentary. And, I mean, it was a good documentary. It was fun. It was accurate. It's probably one of the only documentaries I've ever watched. It's 100% accurate. And then we did a follow-up with it. It's probably about 15 minutes, more of the documentary, but we followed up and we kind of sort of closed the door on that chapter. And it's out there on YouTube as well. And William did that too. But it was fun. And like I said, it was about the only documentary I've ever been involved with or ever seen that was, right on, 100% accurate. So, but it was really cool.
What does it kind of mean to you, to have, this family legacy, being documented in a documentary like that?
honestly, I'm not worthy of anything like that, you know. And everybody says, "Oh yeah, you are." And I've asked the question 1,000 times, you know, why do they need me at this show? They don't need me, you know. I mean, it's nice that I'm still, you know, involved, but to have a documentary about the family, going back to my grandfather, my uncle, going back there, coming forward with me, and then now with AJ, and soon to be, you know, Kirk, you know, his brother. It's I mean, it's hard to believe that, you know, I'm 60 years old. You know, it's hard to believe that this same kid that sitting in a dressing room in Atlanta, Georgia, you know, just got out of the ring wrestling Scott Steiner, and Tommy Young comes and gets me and says, "Hey, they need you in the office." And I said, "Well, what did I do?" And you know, I go in the office, and there sits Jody Hamilton, you know, the original assassin, and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And, you know, I'm thinking, oh God, what did I do? And again, I'm getting ready to use some of my 4-letter words, but I'm there, and Dusty looks at me and he says, "Kid," said, "we like your work. We really do. But you're just too goddamn fat to wrestle." And I'm sitting in a room with two big old guys, you know, and it's like, what do I said, how dare you, you know? So I go home, and 2.5 months later, I come back, and they card me because they didn't know it was me. I'd lost so much weight, but you know, that's just a one little bitty story out of the thousands that I've got. But having all this done about the family, man, it just means so much, you know, to know that the family, you know, especially my grandfather, you know, made an impact, you know, in the wrestling business, and to know that even when I wrestled for, you know, the stuff that I did out there, and I was never known as that major superstar. That's not what I did. I mean, we all had our jobs to do back then, and in my day, we called what I did, you know, we were star makers, and that's what we did. We made the stars. Without us, I mean, you know, guys like me and George South and Pat Rose, you know, Barry Horowitz, Bob Cook, you know, guys like us. Without us, the Steiner brothers, the Rock and Roll Express, the Southern Boys, any of these top flight athletes would not have been the same without guys like us. It took us to you know, showcase them. And that's what we did, and we all had our little jobs to do, and that's great. And honestly, I've always appreciated everything that you know, any of the big guys ever said about me, or you know. And it was just, but the documentary, the family, everything always leads back to family, and that's how I look at things. That's how AJ looks at things. It all boils down to the family. But the documentary was great, man. It was just it was a great feeling to know that somebody out there really appreciated what we did, you know, as a family, and what guys like myself, or you know, guys like me, what we did, you know, for the business, you know. And you know, and you know, we go back to Paul Lee. Paul Lee can fall in that same category as I was back then. He was a star maker. That's what we did. So, but yeah, it's pretty fulfilling to know that it's coming full circle now with the boys, you know, in the business, and maybe one of these days I'll actually get to step aside and not do it, you know. So,
well, I mean, like you said, the star makers, you know, they don't necessarily get the flowers that they really deserve. Like, you know,
right.
But like you said, Barry Horowitz, a fantastic star maker.
Yes, Barry Horowitz, what a terrific individual, what a great person he was, fun, Just you can't say anything bad about Barry. But one thing that I'll say about each and every one of us that did what we did back in the territory era, we always had a job. We always worked. We always were able to provide for the families that we had. I mean, I'd get a booking sheet from whatever territory I was in, and I'll just use WCW as an example. This was long before the Eric Bischoff days, but I mean, I would look at the booking sheet, and it would be for a whole month, and I'd see my name on there 16 times. And it's like, man, here I am. I'm working 16 days out of the month with, in my opinion, at the time, the best wrestling promotion in the country. I mean, how could you not be excited about going to work every day?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you worked with a who's who. I mean, off the top of my head, Dusty Rhodes, Ricky Dragon, Sting, the Road Warriors, Owen Hart.
Yep.
So I mean,
oh yeah, you're. Hey, listen, a quick little story. We went. I guess it was right when Steve Armstrong and Tracy Smothers came in as the Southern Boys. It was me and a different partner every single night for 8 weeks. I mean, every night for 8 weeks, we worked each other. And if Tracy, God rest his soul, were still alive today, he'd tell the story, and Steve will too still. If not for me and Pat and Barry and Killer Kyle and a lot of us, they wouldn't have gotten a job. And like I said, a lot of the stuff that we did out there, the big name guys, it hinged on us to get them a job. We had a job, so and that's what we did. But those guys were great, man. Tracy and Steve were incredible. I can't say I can't say enough good about the Armstrongs. They were, oh my God, you talk about another great wrestling family, and I could talk about them all night. But it's just what a great bunch of guys they are, or they were, and Brian and Scott are still alive. And periodically I'll talk to Scott, because Scott and I had a great run in Smoky Mountain when he was doing Dixie Dynamite. And he was a lot of fun. So yeah, man, I mean, yeah, you're right. It was a who's who. I mean, there's really nobody that I haven't wrestled.
You mentioned the late great Tracy Smothers, and we absolutely adore Tracy on the show. Do you have any Tracy Smothers stories you could share with us?
That I could tell?
Well, we've had some interesting stories. So I mean,
well, listen. Most of the stories that you've heard are probably 100% true. I mean, I can sit here and tell you. I mean, I watched him, shoot wrestle 2 or 3, quote unquote, and I'm not going to name names, but I watched him shoot wrestle 2 or 3, legitimate, shoot wrestlers, and I watched Tracy pin them to the ground. I've seen Tracy wrestle a bear, a legitimate bear, and beat the bear. And this is a true story. And honestly, you cannot call spots with a bear. I'm sorry, it just can't be done. But I have seen Tracy beat a bear, legitimately beat a bear. But I can also say that he's got the best and the biggest lead foot of anybody I've ever ridden in a car with. I mean, when you make Maryville, Tennessee to Gainesville, Georgia in under 4 hours, you're flying, and we did that. So, I'm not proud of it, but we did it anyway. But Tracy, what a really, really good-hearted dude. I mean, last time I got to see Tracy, he and I shared a gimmick table together at Bobby Eaton's big show that they did for him, that Matt Sigmund did for him, in Knoxville. It was right before Tracy passed away. And I was able to see Tracy and talk to him, and he was in good spirits that night. He really was. So he was happy to be there, and we were happy. I was happy he was there. So, but yeah, Tracy, great guy, man.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard a story where he wasn't in good spirits. So that's always
The what?
fun to hear.
Oh, okay.
Now, can you tell us about Paul Orndorff almost killing you in a car in a freeway?
Paul Orndorff doing what?
Paul Orndorff, you were driving the car with him and he almost killed you?
I'm not going to tell that story. Paul Orndorff, again, God rest his soul. What? I mean, I don't have. I mean, there's some guys in this business that I've got some pretty crappy memories of, but Orndorff, man, old school tough guy. I've wrestled him quite a few times. And you're right. I've been in a car with him once or twice. About got us killed in a Bob Evans one time. But the car stories, man, we'll save that. We'll save that for another day. I'm not going to tell that one. But he did about get us killed in Bob Evans.
Could you tell us that story?
No, gosh, no. No. Only thing I'll tell you about that story is a couple of rednecks at Bob Evans at their bar. They had a little. It was like, you go in. There's the bar with the bar stools, and just like I said, a couple of rednecks that thought they were big and bad and tough, and Orndorff pretty much said, "No, you're not," and then. It had something to do with a gun or two, and then that was about it. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, then.
Statutes of limitations,
Okay. All right. Well, can you tell us about the Cazana and Morton family rivalry?
The Cazana-Morton rivalry. I didn't know it was a rivalry until we did the documentary, and. But no, I mean it's not really a rivalry. I wouldn't think. I mean, I knew my grandfather. He knew Paul Morton. Ricky's pop, and I came in with Ricky and listen. I'm going to tell you something. Working with Ricky and Robert was a lot of fun. You knew you weren't going to get hurt. That's the first thing you knew. You knew they weren't going to hurt you, and you knew you were going to have a good match, regardless of where it was, whether it was on TV or whether it was a house show. But I mean, I've told this story a bunch, and I know Ricky has too. But he had come back to WCW. I guess it was probably around 1991, maybe. And it was crazy. Like I said, he came by himself, and he came in as just Ricky Morton. Well, I mean, I had the task of working with Ricky night after night after night. But one night in McMinnville, Tennessee, I'll never forget it. We were doing a show there in McMinnville, and Ricky and I jerked the curtain, and we tore the house down so bad that the next 5 nights in a row we were semi-main event.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and you could never have a bad match with Ricky Morton. I don't care. If you're the worst wrestler in the world, working against Ricky Morton, you're not going to have a bad match. The last time I stepped foot in a wrestling ring with Ricky to actually be in a match, it was a couple of years ago, believe it or not, and it was right after AJ broke in, and he was working up there at School of Morton. And, they had asked me to come up and just, hang out. It was always, Ricky asked me to, hey, come on up and hang out. Little did I know that when I got there, they were going to, coax me into a match. So we worked a little deal for about 3 or 4 months. Every Sunday we would do something. And we ended up, it was AJ and myself. We had built into a big match against Ricky and Kerry at the Greene County Fair. And I tell Kerry all the time, I said, you and AJ come tumbling over the top rope, and one of you yahoos blacked my eye, and I'd like to know which one of you was it. Of course, Kerry says it's AJ. AJ says it's Kerry. And I finally just said, the heck with it, it's both of you. But we worked up there, and that was the last time I stepped in the ring with Ricky. And that dude, listen, man, he is, if you're a Star Trek fan, you'll know what I'm saying. This guy's a Borg. This guy is a Borg. He keeps coming, and he doesn't know when to quit. And, he's, of course, we've all lost a step or two, in our older age. But, Ricky can still do some stuff that he was doing back then. And listen, he may wrestle till the day he literally does die. Because, he's not human. I told him that night. I said, dude, you ain't human. I said, I wish I could go again like we did back in the day. But I don't really consider it a rivalry. It's always just one of those things where I came in with Ricky and our paths crossed. And Kerry and AJ, their paths are going to cross. And, it's inevitable. And they've wrestled each other, time to time. And, it's always been a really good match. And, like I said, I don't think it's a rivalry, but I think it's just a lot of people wanting to get TV ratings, wanting to put the Cazanas and Mortons together one more time. So, it is what it is. If they want to do it one more time, then give me about 3 months to get myself back into shape and get on some kind of drug that'll get my body moving, and we'll be in good shape.
But you mentioned, that match you had. What did it kind of mean to you to, tag team with your son?
Well, it's I don't know, man. It's just to me, it wasn't just another match like back in the day. It was it just meant a little bit more. I truly wish that I could have been the Joe Cazana that I was back in, 1990, just to show AJ, you know what, dude, your dad could go back in the day. But AJ, and he said it too. He's really, he never really got to see me wrestle in my prime. He did, but he didn't. Does that make sense?
Right.
The last time he saw me actually wrestle a legitimate match where I actually, was competitive was probably in 2000. And we were doing something with Ron Fuller. It was called K-Town SmackDown. And he had a little partnership with the WWF. And, it was a show like that. And I was I don't know what I did to get myself into a match where I got hit in the head with a trash can,
Ooh.
But I did. And AJ was literally probably 5 years old,
Okay.
5, well, maybe 6 or 7. I don't know. He was, put it this way, he was sub 10, and he saw me get hit with that trash can, and he was hot. He was good. He was running to the ring to save me. Well, if not for Mr. Fuji, AJ would have made it to the ring. But come forward to 2000, and when was it? 2021, I guess we tagged for the first time together. It meant a lot, and I've told Kirk the same thing. I said, listen, I think what I'll do is I'm going to tag with him one time, and then I'm never going to lace the boots up again. I feel like I owe it to Kirk to do the same thing, and try to get in some sort of shape and partner up with him just once and see how that is. But it was really, really super cool. Now the next step would be to tag the brothers up. So we'll see how that all works out. AJ's going to go on his path, and I know Kirk's going to do his thing. And AJ's this bruiser, that he can wrestle. Believe me, he was a and he'll tell you. He was a high school, state championship coach. His heavyweight won state, and it was, but I'd like to see the brothers tag, but I'm afraid that AJ and Kirk, well, they'll take their own paths. Kirk is he is the, he would be the one that would be the stripper. Does that make sense? Kirk would be the stripper, and AJ would be the bouncer at the front door.
Okay.
But we're talking male stripper. We're talking Chippendale. So, but AJ would be the bouncer. So, but I think that would be really cool to have the brothers tag at least once. And who knows? Maybe do a 6-man or something with them. I think it would be fun. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, I may still have 1 or 2 left in me. I don't know.
All right. And what about, being in the ring with Kerry? Because, I mean, obviously your relationship with Ricky and then wrestling his son.
Yeah. Yeah. Kerry is an interesting individual. You would never think that by looking at Kerry that he would be the athlete that he is. I mean, he's just a normal looking dude, that you could probably go and hang out with and pick up girls with, but Kerry Morton, he can go, man. I mean, regardless, you don't give somebody a world championship if they can't work or if they can't draw. And Kerry is the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. And it's just like, I mean, I had him on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it's like I told him on the podcast. I said, I look at you, and you just, like I said, you look like that guy I want to go and hang out with at the bar and pick up chicks. But no, man, Kerry, like I said, he's an interesting individual, and he was fun to work with. He listens. And he is he's a lot like he protects Ricky a lot, and sometimes he's a little overprotective, but kind of like AJ is with me, and maybe Ricky and I'll just have to tag up and beat the crap out of the kids, but no, I mean, I like Kerry, and Kerry's got a bright future in the business, and whatever he wants to do, I think he'll be able to do it.
All right. Now, when I do research, sometimes I go way down into the rabbit hole, and I'm not even sure what I found. You did something for Happy Days?
Say that again. Something for Happy Days?
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, apparently.
No, I didn't do anything with Happy Days. I watched the show.
Okay.
No, man, I was a teenager. I was a kid.
I wasn't sure. I was trying to do the math in my head as well, and I wasn't sure.
No. I used to watch it on Tuesday nights, man. It used to come on at like 8:30 or 8 o'clock, and then Laverne and Shirley would come on, and then I'd have to go to bed. So, no, I wish I would have, man. That was a great show.
So obviously, I am DB filth me on this one.
We could have we could have worked it really well. I said, heck yeah, man, I was Ron Howard's stunt double. So I'm the one that jumped the shark. It wasn't Henry Winkler.
All right. Well, I felt like I had to ask. I needed to know.
Well, you got your answer.
Yes, I did. Well, I think that does bring us to our next segment.
Okay.
Joe Cazana's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
About who?
A road story. Weird, crazy, bizarre, funny.
Okay, I'm going to tell one story, and it's going to be a clean story.
Okay.
But because all these stories that you hear about all of us being on the road, they're all true. I mean, traveling from Shreveport to Oklahoma City wasn't a lot of fun. Traveling from Memphis to Evansville wasn't a lot of fun, but we did it. So we're going to keep this really, really clean. So I'm driving. Tim Horner is in the front seat next to me. Mark Kyle, Killer Kyle, and Doug Furness are in the back seat.
Okay.
And we have just left Atlanta, and I'm sitting here, and we're Tim and I are just whatever. I mean, we're just shooting a breeze or whatever. But Mark and Doug decided that they were going to start playing grab ass in the back seat.
Okay.
And they're back there. They're fighting. They're rumbling. They're tumbling. They've got me all over the road. Let's just put it that way. I mean, I'm going from the hammer lane to the slow lane to the any kind of lane out there, but I'm all over the place. So I open up a Mountain Dew, and that's all it was. Honest to God, at that point it was a Mountain Dew. So I open up this Mountain Dew, and I'm swerving all over the road like I'm really drunk. And so this finally, I see blue lights behind me. And I told Doug and Mark, and I said, "You assholes!" I said, "You're gonna get us all thrown in jail." I mean, that's the bottom line. You're gonna get us all thrown in jail. I said, "I'm not taking the fall for this." And Horner turned around and said, "Hell no, we're not taking the fall for it. You two big MFers are going to." And so I pull over, and here comes a cop, and the cop walks up there, and he looks down in the car. And he looks at me and he says, "Boy," said, "you were swerving all over the road." And I said, "Yes, sir, I know I was swerving all over the road." He said, "What do you think we're going to do about that?" I said, "Well," "let me ask you a question." I said, "If you had two guys in the back seat that both weighed 300 pounds and they were back there grabbing at each other and fighting each other, you'd tend to swerve too, wouldn't you?" And he looked back there at him and he said, "You have a good night." And he turned around and walked away. That's the clean and that's the clean version. I don't want to give you the dirty version. I could give you here's another good story.
Okay.
This is a really good one. So Mark, Kyle, and myself were on our way back from Dothan, Alabama, which was an 8-hour drive. We had to drive because flights weren't coming out of Dothan at 11 o'clock at night. So we were driving back to Knoxville, and we were tired. It's probably, I don't know, man. It was, I want to say 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe 4:30, give or take. We'd been on the road for about 6.5 hours, and we were coming through Chattanooga, and man, we were hauling the mail too. We were probably doing 90 miles an hour through Chattanooga. So again, here we go. We get pulled over by the cops at 4:30 in the morning. I mean, don't these guys have something better to do at 4:30 in the morning?
You would think.
So we get pulled over by the cops, and I'm sleeping in the front seat. The cops keep us there for 30 minutes. And finally, Mark gets the ticket, and we leave. So about a month later, we are wrestling in Morristown, Tennessee. And I'm in the ring wrestling, and I see like 4 cops come walking in the Tally Ward building, which is the big, place up in Morristown. So we had about 4 cops coming through there. Couldn't figure out what was going on. Turned around, and just as the babyface was making his hot comeback, I see Mark being let out in handcuffs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Mark gets let out in handcuffs. They take him to the Hamlin County Jail. So they turned him loose, and he had to be, in court that very next Monday. Well, we had to be in Gainesville, Georgia that Monday as well. We had to be there by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. His court appearance was at 10 o'clock in the morning in Chattanooga. And now keep in mind of the year that we're in here, we're probably around 1990, 1989, something like that.
Okay.
So we go to court, and I'm beside myself, because I say, well, ain't no way we're going to make it. And we had to get down there. They'd fine us and all this other stuff. So I'm sitting on this back row in this courtroom, and they call his name, and Mark goes up there. He's standing in front of the judge, and the judge is looking at this piece of paper. I guess it was the ticket. He looks at Mark, looks at the ticket, looks back at Mark, and he said, "Boy," he said, "what color are you?" Mark said, "Black." Bam, down with the gavel. The judge said 30 days.
Wow.
I said, oh, God. I said, how am I going to explain this when I get down there to Gainesville? So Mark is absolutely – now, if you don't know Mark Kyle, the dude is 6'4". He's 300 pounds, and he's standing in front of the judge shaking like a leaf, you know. And, when he said 30 days, it was like, oh, dear God. You know, I said, there's just no way I can explain this. I said, I just can't do it. I said, I'm just going to have to go down there and pretend like he didn't show up. You know, and Mark said, Judge, is there anything that I can do? And he said, well, you can pay your fine. And he said, do you take a check? He said, hell no, we don't take a check down here. And this is in court now. So Mark and I leave to go try to find an ATM. Now, this is 89, and ATMs aren't on every corner like they are now. So we couldn't find an ATM. He goes back in front of the judge. No money, no nothing. And says, Judge, I just I couldn't find any money. I couldn't find the ATM. And he looks at Mark and he says, are you stupid? And Mark said, no, sir. He said, well, this is what we're going to do. He said, you go do your little wrestling thing. He said, you've got, you got 14 days to pay this. You don't pay it, we're going to come get your ass. We're going to bring you back to Hamilton County, and you will do 30 days in my workhouse. Do you understand me? Mark said, yes, sir. And we, by God, left. And Mark got a money order just as we left, and he sent it to him. So, yeah, I mean, that was an interesting time in wrestling. I mean, just think about being in a courtroom and all those questions being asked to you, and you getting cussed like a dog inside a courtroom. Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
But no, and again, that's just another clean story. So, I try to steer away from all the nasties that we all got into back then.
No, I understand. But we are uncensored. And we've had some very explicit stories on the show before.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell some good tales from the territories, but I'm not doing it.
Fair enough.
You know.
But those were awesome stories. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That being said, I think it's time for the colossal question.
The colossal question?
The colossal question.
Okay.
They're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on the Joe Cazana movie soundtrack?
Okay, this is a good one because I can answer this question. As a baby face, which I was for quite some time, it would have been Nothing But a Good Time by Poison.
Sweet.
As a heel, which I was more times than not, it was Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap.
Okay.
And not the AC/DC version, but the Joan Jett version.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and then going back and forth as a babyface with my partner, God rest his soul, Johnny Meadows. We were the Paradise City Rockers, so it would be Paradise City.
All right. No Dolly Parton?
No. Are you kidding me? I thought we had this discussion 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. My bad. All right. Now that we got the soundtrack out of the way, who plays you? And you can't say yourself because you're obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Oh man, who plays me? As I guess as the blonde Joe Cazana back in those days. I'm just gonna go for the gusto and say that no account, no good do good, or that dad blame nature boy Ric Flair. No, I can't say Rick. I love Rick. Honestly, who plays me? It's hard. I don't know. I mean, I had a style and I guess all to myself back then, but God, I mean, that's a trick question, man. I mean, I don't know. who was? It's just hard. I don't know. I'm still gonna hell with it. Ric Flair. So,
We'll give Ric Flair some acting lessons.
yes, yeah, he'll sell the merch for me.
All right, now who would be 3 people in your movie? And if you can, who would play them?
3 people in my movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, of course, you know, you'd have to put my buddy Mark Kyle in it. I mean, we traveled so many miles together and got in so much trouble together. I mean, he was my travel guy. Who would play Killer? Oh my gosh. Oh God. I tell you, okay, he's dead now, but Tiny Lister.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, yeah. I would have to go with Tiny Lister. Johnny Meadows, my tag team partner. You know, trying to think of a guy from that era that could pull it off. You know what? Scott Baio. Honestly, Scott Baio,
Okay.
of all people. As far as just a supporting kind of a guy, I mean, oh God. Do I have to pick a third one? Because I mean, really, I don't know. I didn't run around much with a lot of them.
I mean, AJ would be a good third.
Well, I still think that even Ricky Morton could play Ricky Morton.
And I would accept that answer.
You know, Ricky could play Ricky.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, you wouldn't get any arguments from me. I'm sure he could play himself the best.
Hey, yeah. You know, I mean, yeah, definitely. He could definitely play himself. But yeah, that would probably be it. And who knows what the title of this movie's called? I guess Old Farts That's Doing Wrestling Again. I don't know, man. I mean,
I'm sure the director will come up with the Joe Cazana legacy movie.
Sure. Yeah.
You could pre-order the tickets now.
Oh yeah, pre-sale the tickets now. Go ahead and send me the money before I die. Yeah.
All right, on to a controversial subject.
Okay.
Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Peacock?
Pineapple on pizza.
Oh God, that question. Pineapple on pizza?
Yeah.
Oh God, no. No. Pineapple on pizza? No, man. No. That'd be a negative. Pineapple is not made for pizza.
Okay.
You know, no. No pineapple.
No pineapple.
Oh God.
Now, what's your spirit Pokemon?
Pokemon?
Yes. Yeah.
I played it on the N64 with AJ when he was a kid. I don't know. I mean, Pokemon's not so bad. I mean, I'm more of a Super Friends kind of a guy, but
Ooh, okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm more of a, like I said, the 70 Super Friends. You know, that's me. I mean, but Pokemon's not bad. It could be worse. I mean, it could be like what's that? The Family Guy, like stupid show. You know, I mean, dumb show. I mean, there's a lot of dumb shows out there. You know, American Dad or whatever they call that guy. Horrible.
Super Friends. What character do you identify the most with?
Oh my God. Well, I can't breathe underwater, so it can't be Aquaman. I can swim, but I can't be Aquaman. Honestly, probably Batman. I mean, no superpowers whatsoever. And he jobbed out for just about everybody, but in the end, he always won, you know. But no, I mean, he used his head. That's how Batman did his thing. He used his head. You know, Kryptonite could kill Superman.
Yeah.
But hey, guess what? A bullet could kill Batman. You know, so he's got to be smart and stay away from him. You know, every time I saw Superman, he had that green rock around his neck. So, you know, it's yeah, probably Batman.
as you already know, we love the late great Tracy Smothers. Do
Yep.
you know the acronym for THUG? THUG.
I do not.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a Doug can't spell.
I think I remember him actually saying that. I think I remember him saying that. Oh, good Lord Almighty. Yep. No, I didn't have a clue, man.
And the weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully, would you ever consider booking a Rock in your promotion? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual Rock.
A rock?
Yes.
You mean like a rock that I throw in the water?
I mean, it's about the size of a Sioux, I would say.
Book a rock on my show. I don't know, man. I could always make a broomstick look good. and I would put it over, you know. So yeah, whatever. No, I don't know anything about a rock, but a broomstick maybe.
Okay, well, just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual Rock for over 15 minutes in an Iron Man match that lasted for 2 weeks.
That's fun. That's like Kenny Omega wrestling that rubber doll over in Japan. That's cool.
Unfortunately, Mike did not win the match.
Oh my God, he put the Rock over?
Well, technically they tied, but the Rock was the champion, so he retained.
Oh God. Oh Lord. That's what the wrestling business has come to. Oh.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. Hey, on a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Dead. No, I'm just kidding.
That was brief for a second.
5 years from now. Oh God, let's see. 5 years from now, hopefully I'm sitting front row Madison Square Garden watching AJ and Kirk wrestle.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they both definitely have the potential. I know AJ does. AJ's first, you know, and he'll tell you this probably as well, but you know, the NWA took a chance on AJ, and that's always going to be home to him. The same way, you know, the NWA took a chance on me, you know, back in 1987, 86. Well, actually, it's 87. Took a chance on me in 87 when I went over and worked for Crockett. And I'm going to tell you something. Here's another little quick story. If it wasn't for my grandmother, I never would have gotten my break, ever. It was my grandmother that got it for me. It was a Continental show. I was, you know, I had been training. I was about finished training, and Jerry Lawler, you know, he came to Knoxville and worked for Ron Fuller at Continental. I was still, you know, on the ring crew at the time, and my grandmother, she literally called the hotel that Jerry was staying in and left a message for him to call her. I never would have thought he'd have called her back, but literally 30 minutes later, he's calling her back. And I go to Memphis the next month, and I'm down there for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. So if not for her, I wouldn't have gotten my break or even had gotten seen to where, you know, WCW or NWA at the time, Jim Crockett Promotions, would have taken a chance and brought me over.
And, you know, you mentioned it before, AJ just recently won the U.S. Tag Team Championships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as, you know, a father and, you know, having your son follow in your footsteps, what did that kind of mean to you?
In the beginning, I didn't want him to wrestle. You know, it's a hard life. I mean, I don't care how it is today, but it's still a hard life, and you've got to be dedicated to it 100%. when I saw that that's what he wanted and that's what he was going to do, then, you know, I was as proud of that as the day I watched him, you know, for the first time run through the Power T at the University of Tennessee, you know, when he played football there. So, I mean, I've always been proud of all the accomplishments that AJ's had, you know, and I've always been proud of all the accomplishments that Kirk has had. And Kirk will be coming up through the ranks just like AJ did. And I'm sure that I'll be on the front row of some, you know, independent show watching Kirk real soon. But with AJ, he was the first. So, I mean, it's really cool. Of course, he does. Of course, you know, the old man, he doesn't want to listen to what I've got to say, but that's okay, because I usually run it through Doc, and Doc will say something to him about what you know, and it works. But I couldn't be any more proud of what AJ has done in honestly the 2 years he's been wrestling. I mean, he's just a little over 2 years he's been in this business. He's a contracted NWA superstar. He's one half of the United States Tag Team Champions, you know, with Anthony. And honestly, at this point in his career, how does it get any much better than that?
I mean, 2 years in the business, which is you know, still relatively new, and you're just doing all these fantastic things.
He does stuff in the ring that is just, you know, it blows my mind that he can do it. I know that there was one night he'd wrestled somewhere, and he said, the finish, you know, I hooked him in an O'Connor roll. I looked at him, I said, "You can do an O'Connor roll?" And it's like I insulted him, you know. And I said, Andrew, you know, Andrew's his name. I said, Andrew, I said, dude, I said, you're 290 pounds. You don't see a 290 pounder doing an O'Connor roll. You see guys my size doing it. And he was doing it. And it's like with Kirk, I know that Kirk had been literally 3 weeks training, and he was working out with another guy that's been around a while here in the area, a really good wrestler named Dylan the Queen.
Okay.
And Dylan was calling a match, and he was asking Jackson, you know, Jackson is Kirk's first name, but he was asking Jackson, you know, to do this, do that, and he was doing it. And it was like, you know, Pritchard was asking him, said, "Where did you learn this?" And Pritchard just shook his head, said, "Yeah, you're from a wrestling family, you can tell." And everything just has come natural to both of them, you know, when it came to this wrestling stuff. So, like I said, I'm proud of both of them, you know, immensely. And right now with AJ, he's been out there for a little over 2 years. So he's been around, he's done his thing. He's won championships, but, you know, watching him do what he does, you know, inside an NWA ring, you know, knowing that I wrestled for the NWA, knowing that my grandfather was an NWA representative, you know, as a promoter, man, it just, how does it get any better other than watching your kids, both of them, wrestle in Madison Square Garden?
That's awesome. It really is. What's a match that people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Joe Cazana Promotions is all about?
What's the best way for them to see what it's all about?
No, what's a match, in your opinion, that's a part of your promotion, like on your YouTube, that they should check out that best represents the company?
You need to check them all out. Are you kidding me? Okay. No, honestly, you know, there's not just, I can't pinpoint just one match, you know, within the promotion. And I say that because we tell stories.
Fair enough, yeah.
You know, you go to, like I said, you go to episode 1, you know, season 1, and then you come into episode 10, and then episode, 1 of season 2, it continues the story, you know, because, you know, wrestling really doesn't have seasons. Right. We got to put them out there like that. But everything it came full circle at the Halloween show. As far as, you know, everything that, you know, the payoffs for literally 21 episodes, you know, came to fruition back in October. And it was, I mean, like I said, to watch Joe Cazana Promotions, you really need to go from show number 1 all the way, to what we're doing in season 2. There's just not just that one match that would do it for you. It would be the whole storytelling. And if you like stories and you like to binge watch, stuff like that, then I mean the shows are literally 40 minutes long, 45 minutes long, and there's no commercials. And like I said, we tell a story with almost everything that we're doing, and it's really super cool. But there's just not that one match. Everybody that does stuff within the company, our top guys and gals, there's a story with each and every one of them. Now we'll have a curtain jerker it's going to be a really good match, but they won't be inside any kind of storylines. But the storylines that we've got going, especially right now it's getting ready to start season 3, coming off of the big Christmas show that we did, back in December. It's I mean we had one hell of a cliffhanger at the end of that show. So that might be one of those things that you're going to need to watch on March the 3rd, I think, is when that actual show premieres, the last show of season 2. So, but yeah, honestly, you need to just watch the whole thing. I mean, that's just my opinion. I just can't pinpoint one match.
Okay. And in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, I will put the YouTube page in there. For anybody that wants to binge watch every episode of every season.
Everything on YouTube is 100% free.
Yes.
Just go on and subscribe, like, and watch. We're gonna do pay-per-views as well this year.
Okay.
We're gonna be on Title Match for that. But we're gonna do pay-per-views, and I mean, I'm excited about doing them, and I know our production guys are excited about it. I've not told any of the talent that we're going to do it, because I mean, I'm going to put out the best matches possible, and it should be a fun time. But like I said, for all your listeners out there, I know there's a I don't know if you know Pollo Del Mar or not.
The name sounds familiar.
Well, she is the Thrillbillies manager for the NWA, and she's out in San Francisco. Okay. And she I've had her and Silas on my podcast, and you talk about really helping with the subscriptions and the people out there that she knows that they go on and they do a watch party, out there when the show premieres. We had a show premiere last night, and they watched it last night, and then we've got another show that premieres on Friday, and then the podcast that I did with Dave Milliken is going to premiere on Monday. So I mean, we've got stuff that's coming out, two and three different things every single week. I'm trying to stay relevant, with everything, and it's a cool thing to watch. Like I said, if you watch it with the eye of a soap opera and you're watching the stories, but the wrestling's really good too, So.
No, I mean I can relate. I'm pumping out 3 pieces of content on YouTube every week as well. So I can sympathize.
Yeah. And doing the podcast, everybody thinks these things are so easy. They're not. I mean, you got to kind of coordinate with everybody. I mean, it's just like, we had a couple of hiccups, earlier in our deal, with the site. I mean, I could pull it on my phone, but for some reason I couldn't pull it on my computer, and I really didn't want to download another app on my phone. So but hey, you know what, it works. But getting the right guests, at the time, and to have the guests that I had, over the last 6 episodes. I mean, I listen. With Tom Pritchard as a guest, with the Fixers, Wrecking Ball Legursky and Jay Bradley, the former U.S. Tag Team Champions. I've had them on the podcast. The Country Gentlemen, current champions podcast. Pollo Del Mar and Thrill Billy Silas on the podcast. Dave Milliken on the podcast, and I had Kerry Morton on one of my podcasts. Here's you a sneak peek to next week's podcast. It's with Miranda Gordy. So, Terry Gordy's daughter, another generational wrestler. So, and then the week after that, I hadn't told him yet, but I'm going to tell him it's going to be Colby Carino. Again, another generational wrestler.
That is so cool to, bring on, those generational wrestlers.
Yep. I mean, it's, I'm lucky in a sense that, I have been working some with the NWA because I know these guys. I've met some of them, and they're coming on the podcast, and they're coming and wrestling on the shows. I mean, if you you look at the Shamrock Slam poster. I mean, you've got the ill-begotten NWA guys. Danny Deals is he is a mess. Alex Taylor just wrestled for the junior championship against Kerry at Nuff Said. I've got the Country Gentlemen. Freya, like you said, with Ellie. Rolando is going to be at the show in Petros. I mean, Rolando come up to me in New Orleans, and he and literally, I mean, it's like you see him, when he's on Power the other day with tires, just gets right up in his belly and says, "I want you." I mean, Rolando comes up and he looks at me dead in the eyes and he says, "I want to come work for you." And it's like, okay, I said, sure. I'm not messing with you, buddy. But no, Rolando, he'll be there. Well, another really good dude. The Seekers are gonna be there as well. I mean, honestly, we're starting off, season 3 with a bang. I mean, again, it's a who's who. I mean, Toby Farley is going to be there. You want to talk about one tough, pine knot. Toby Farley is one of the most unsung wrestlers that's been around, for I couldn't tell you how long. I mean, and he's making his debut with us. I mean, he's never been here with us before. It's crazy that he's never worked here before. Same as Freya. I mean, I cannot believe that I've not had her. But I mean, it's I fully expect a sold out crowd up there. We've already sold out of the first whole row of ringside, and we're working on the second row. Of course, there's bleacher seats that have already been sold. So last time we were there, we sold out right at about 500.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's crazy to sit back here and think about what kind of show we got coming up, but it's going to be big. I mean, it really is. So if you get an opportunity, we're going to film every show. We're going to film every match, for television. We're going to basically put it into 4 different television shows. So we'll have 4 episodes ready to go. And man, it's going to be a fun time. 2023 is going to be a good year for JCP. And it's going to be a great year for the National Wrestling Alliance. And I mean, I can't think enough of or thank the National Wrestling Alliance enough for everything they've done for us. But the talent that I've got that's coming in here, that's been here, I can't thank them enough for everything that they've done. So, I mean, it's just been one hell of a run, man.
Definitely, they're definitely getting me excited with all these, things you got coming up as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing them all come to fruition, for sure.
Well, we're gonna see what happens on March 17th, and like I said, it's 4 television shows that we're going to be filming, and unfortunately, if you're not there, then you're going to have to wait to see what happens on YouTube. You know, yeah. So I mean, you won't be there. You'll be in LA,
Yes.
and you'll have to wait like all the rest, and check it out as we premiere them. Now we're gonna slow down on the premieres as far as season 3 goes. Oh, and I say that only because we're only going to have 4 shows in the can to begin with, and when we started putting this on YouTube, we already had 22 shows finished.
Wow.
So we were just waiting to figure out what we were going to do with it. And all of this can also be seen on Title Match as well. I mean, we've got it all over there as well. But YouTube, the Joe Cazana Promotions YouTube channel is the one to go to. And like I said, you subscribe, you like, you watch. It's free. Who doesn't like free?
Absolutely.
So yeah, man, I'm excited about this season coming up. I'm excited about everything that's going on with JCP, and I'm excited about the wrestling business in general. It's man, it's alive and well, believe me.
Yes. All right. And, since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
I guess.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Ric Flair.
Worst wrestler.
It could be 1,000 of them. Bill Kazmaier.
Okay. You're booking the main event of WrestleMania. Who are the 2 combatants?
In their prime?
Yeah, anybody.
Ric Flair, Kurt Hennig.
Awesome. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Ric Flair. You see a pattern here?
Yes. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Kayfabe is in purgatory? How's that?
I will accept that answer. We also would have accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable.
It's a fruit.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's tomato logic.
Well, whatever. I don't eat it, so there you go.
Well, you're part of the squash squad now. That means a hell of a lot more.
I thought you were going to say squash. Match? or what,
No, squash squad. It's people that believe that squash is a vegetable opposed to a fruit.
Well, I was wrong.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate punch to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Oh God, that's a trick question, man. I'll take a pass on that one.
So no opinion.
No.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No.
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 And that is the correct answer.
That's a good question.
That will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Man, I appreciate it so much, and I'm excited to know that there's still guys like you out there that like to talk to us older guys. That, because our time is long gone, But I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you letting me have some fun and talk about JCP, talk about the National Wrestling Alliance, because right now, in my opinion, NWA is the best in professional wrestling, and as Joe Galley says, wrestling the way it should be.
Yes. Yeah. And like I told you before we were even on air, we love to have, those veterans on the show because we love the stories. And we want to hear the stories.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it, and again, if you need anything else from me, man, I'm just an email or a tweet away.
Thank you so much. And where can
Thank
we
you.
find you and JCP on all social media?
Facebook, Joe Cazana Promotions. Same thing on Instagram, Joe Cazana Promotions. Twitter, I think it's what is it? Is it the hashtag or is it the @ sign on Twitter? Okay, the @ sign Cazana Joe on Twitter. YouTube, it's in there under Joe Cazana Promotions. You can't miss it. It's a big gold logo, and like I said, you can't miss that at all, but please, man, just if you guys got questions, if you guys just want to talk wrestling, it's best just to ask that question on the JCP Facebook page, and who knows, somebody may answer.
You don't even need to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all the social media and the YouTube page will be in the description of the video below or on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link, a new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse.
That's right. Tell them. No excuse whatsoever. Put it in there. No excuse. None.
Yeah, I mean, you've been listening to him for almost 2 hours. Give him a
God, have we been talking that long? Wow. That's longer than any podcast that I've done.
Yeah, we're not for going long. we like still not as long as our most long interview, which almost went 4 hours.
God, that's a long interview, man. I don't think I could talk for 4. Well, I probably could. Listening to my wife would say, "Oh, can't you ever just shut up about wrestling?" So I told her I was going in here to get on the podcast. She said, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow." So, yeah. But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you, like I said, letting me tell some some clean stories, and hey, it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Maybe next time we could get some of the dirty ones.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
Some of those stories I'm taking to the grave.
No. All right. Of course, if you thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. We're on YouTube and Castbox. Of course, this was sponsored by Real Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. Follow the show at Wrestling with E on information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. And follow me personally at JamesJ993. All right, Joe, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
You got it.
For our very special guest, Joe Cazana, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.